Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm glad to see you all here today. Today, we're going to explore an exciting topic, air around us. This is the first slide of our presentation, and it sets the stage for what's to come. We'll be looking at the air we breathe, how it affects us, and why it's so important. Over the next few slides, we'll cover the composition of air, its role in our environment, and some interesting facts. So, let's get started and dive into the fascinating world of the air around us. Let's take a closer look at the contents of today's lesson. First, we'll explore about the air, then dive into the composition of air, which is fundamental to understanding how it supports life. We'll also examine specific components like water vapor, dust, and smoke, and gases such as nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. We'll see how air plays a vital role in aquatic animals, amphibians, birds, and mammals, highlighting the importance of oxygen and the balance of gases in our environment. Additionally, we'll look at how plants interact with air and the overall support it provides for life on Earth. Finally, we will go through some exercises like filling in the blanks to reinforce what you've learned. This comprehensive overview will help us understand the crucial role air plays in supporting all living beings, connecting the dots of how vital this invisible resource truly is. Today, I want to talk about the air around us. Air is essentially a mixture of gases that make up our atmosphere. Think of the atmosphere as a thick blanket of air that surrounds the entire Earth, providing a protective layer. This layer is crucial because it helps regulate temperature and supports life. Now, when the air moves, we call that wind. Wind is simply moving air, and it plays a vital role in weather patterns and even in how plants and animals adapt. You'll also notice figures that move with the help of the wind, like leaves, flags, or kites. These are great examples of how air movement influences our environment. Understanding the properties of air and wind helps us see how interconnected everything is on our planet. It's a fundamental part of the larger picture of Earth's natural systems, and it sets the stage for exploring how air impacts weather, climate, and life itself. Let's take a closer look at the composition of air. The substances that make up air can now be identified individually, which helps us understand what we're actually breathing in. As you can see, air mainly consists of oxygen and nitrogen. These two gases make up the majority of our atmosphere. Besides these, there are other components like carbon dioxide, noble gases, and water vapor, each playing a role in various natural processes. You'll also find dust particles and traces of other gases present in the air. Recognizing these different substances is key to understanding how air supports life and influences our environment. This detailed breakdown connects to the overall theme of how vital clean, balanced air is for our health and the planet's well-being. Let's take a closer look at the composition of air. It turns out that air is made up of about 78% nitrogen and roughly 28% oxygen. Now, the key thing to remember here is how these gases behave differently. Oxygen is essential for combustion, so it supports burning processes, which is why fires need oxygen to keep going. On the other hand, nitrogen doesn't support burning at all. In fact, nitrogen is quite inert in this context, which is why it makes up such a large portion of our air without directly contributing to combustion. Understanding this balance helps us grasp why oxygen is critical for fire and combustion-related activities, and it connects to the overall theme of how different gases influence our environment and processes around us. Let's talk about carbon dioxide. Air contains about 0.003% of this gas, which might seem like a very small amount, but it's actually quite important. Both plants and animals play a role here. During respiration, animals and humans take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide as a waste product. This process is essential for maintaining the balance of gases in the atmosphere. Additionally, carbon dioxide is produced when we burn fuels like wood, coal, or gasoline. This is a key point because it links human activity directly to changes in atmospheric carbon dioxide levels. Understanding this cycle helps us see how interconnected life processes and human actions are in shaping our environment. So, in the bigger picture, managing carbon dioxide emissions is crucial for keeping our climate stable. Water vapor is a fascinating part of our atmosphere because it varies quite a bit depending on the weather and location. When the sun shines, it heats up water in oceans and seas, causing some of that water to turn into vapor and rise into the air. This process is called evaporation. You can think of it like when you see wet clothes drying. The moisture from the clothes evaporates into the air. This is a key part of the water cycle, which connects all of Earth's water sources. Understanding how water vapor moves and changes helps us grasp bigger ideas about weather patterns and climate. So, in essence, water vapor plays a vital role in shaping the environment around us, linking the sun's energy to the atmosphere and weather we experience every day. Now let's talk about dust and smoke in the air. As we mentioned earlier, air isn't just empty space. It contains tiny particles like dust and smoke. Dust consists of small particles from soil, pollen, and other materials, while smoke is made up of tiny combustion particles. These particles are everywhere around us, but they can have significant effects. Understanding that air contains these substances is important because it helps us realize how vital clean air is for our survival. Dust and smoke can affect our health, especially our respiratory system, making it harder for us to breathe and causing various health problems. This brings us to a crucial point: the importance of maintaining clean air for the survival of all living beings on this planet. Without clean air, plants, animals, and humans all face challenges. So, protecting our air quality isn't just about comfort. It's about ensuring the health and survival of everything that depends on it. In the broader context of our presentation, recognizing the composition of air and its impurities underscores the need for environmental awareness and action. Clean air is essential for life, and understanding what's in the air helps us appreciate why we must work to preserve it. Air supports life in so many vital ways. We all need air to survive, of course. It's not just about breathing. Air contains essential gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide that are crucial for both plants and animals. Oxygen, which we breathe in, is vital for our bodies to function properly. Meanwhile, carbon dioxide, which we exhale, plays an equally important role in the environment. Now, plants use that carbon dioxide from the air to make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. This process is fundamental because it allows plants to produce the energy they need to grow and thrive. And in doing so, plants also produce oxygen as a byproduct, which they release back into the air. So, in a way, plants and animals are interconnected, supporting each other through their different roles. Understanding how air supports life helps us appreciate the delicate balance of nature and the importance of protecting our air quality. It all ties back to the overall idea that life depends on the air around us, making it a key element in sustaining life on Earth. Now let's take a closer look at how insects breathe. For example, cockroaches and houseflies respire through tiny holes in their bodies called spiracles. These are small openings that allow air to enter and exit their respiratory system. It's quite fascinating because, unlike humans who use lungs, insects have a different setup. Their spiracles connect to a network of tubes called tracheae, which distribute oxygen directly to their tissues. This adaptation is highly efficient for their small size and rapid movements. And this concept of respiration isn't limited to animals only. Even plants have their own way of exchanging gases with their environment. All animals, whether it's a cockroach, a fish, or an elephant, need to breathe to survive. The key difference lies in the organs and mechanisms they use. Some may have lungs, others gills, and insects like cockroaches rely on spiracles. In our overall discussion on respiration, understanding these different methods highlights how diverse and specialized life forms are in their ways of obtaining oxygen. Now, as we move forward, let's click on the next button to see how a cockroach's respiratory system functions in detail. Some animals, like dolphins and whales, actually come up to the surface of the water to breathe. They have lungs, just like we do, so they need to take in air from above the water. This is pretty fascinating because it shows how different animals have adapted their breathing methods to fit their environment. Most aquatic animals, however, like fish, tadpoles, crabs, and shrimps, have developed a different solution. They use specialized organs called gills, which are incredibly efficient at extracting oxygen from water. When water passes over their gills, oxygen dissolves into their bloodstream, allowing them to breathe underwater. It's interesting to see how these adaptations connect to the overall theme of how animals survive in various environments. Whether they come to the surface to breathe air or use gills to extract oxygen from water, each method is perfectly suited to their way of life. And if you click any button, you can learn more about dolphins and their unique breathing habits. Frogs, along with other amphibians like newts and salamanders, have a really interesting way of breathing that adapts to both land and water environments. When they're on land, they rely on their well-developed lungs to breathe air, just like we do. But when they're in water, they switch to using their moist skin, which allows them to absorb oxygen directly from the water. This dual breathing system is essential for their survival in both habitats. Now, if we look at crocodiles and alligators, they have a different but equally fascinating adaptation. They swim with part of their snout above the water surface, which lets them breathe easily through their nostrils. This way, they can stay submerged while still getting fresh air without exposing their whole head. Connecting this to our overall theme, it's incredible to see how different animals have evolved specialized breathing systems. These adaptations not only help them survive in their specific environments, but also highlight the diversity of life and the ways creatures have developed to thrive across different habitats. Let's talk about birds and their amazing respiratory system. Birds need a lot of oxygen when they fly, so their respiratory system has to be really efficient. Unlike ours, their lungs are designed to maximize oxygen intake. They have a pair of lungs, but what makes them special are the air sacs connected to these lungs. These air sacs stay open all the time, creating a continuous flow of air through the lungs. This means that air is always moving through their respiratory system, providing a steady supply of oxygen. This adaptation is crucial for their high-energy activities like flying. It really highlights how their anatomy is perfectly tuned for their lifestyle, connecting back to our overall theme of how animals adapt their physiology for survival. Now, let's talk about how most mammals breathe. They rely on lungs to do this vital job. Essentially, they take in oxygen from the air, which their bodies need to function, and they release carbon dioxide, a waste product. If you look at this picture, you'll see the human respiratory system, which is a great example of how complex yet efficient mammalian breathing can be. This process is crucial because it connects directly to the overall theme of how different animals have evolved various ways to breathe and survive in their environments. Understanding this helps us appreciate the intricate design of mammalian systems and their importance in maintaining life. Now, let's talk about the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the air. This balance is really important for maintaining life on Earth. It's kept in check through a natural cycle involving both plants and animals. Plants play a crucial role here because they perform photosynthesis, during which they produce oxygen. At the same time, they also respire, which means they use some oxygen. But here's the interesting part. During photosynthesis, plants produce way more oxygen than they use in respiration. This excess oxygen is then released into the atmosphere, helping to replenish what animals and humans consume when they breathe. So, in essence, photosynthesis acts as a kind of natural oxygen generator, balancing out the oxygen we use and ensuring there's enough in the air for all living things. Understanding this cycle really highlights how interconnected life processes are and how vital healthy plant life is for maintaining this delicate equilibrium. Today, we're looking at fill in the blanks about air. So, air is a solution or mixture of gases. It's not just one pure substance, but a blend of different gases. The most abundant gas in air is nitrogen, making up about 78%. That's a large majority, and it plays an important role in maintaining the balance of gases in our atmosphere. Next, we have oxygen, which is essential for burning. When we light a fire or even when our bodies produce energy, oxygen is involved. During respiration, our bodies take in oxygen to help release energy from food. At the same time, we give out carbon dioxide, which is a waste product. And interestingly, plants play a crucial role here too. During photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide from the air and use sunlight to produce their food. This process helps balance the levels of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the atmosphere. So, understanding the composition of air and how these gases interact with living things helps us appreciate the delicate balance that sustains life on Earth. And that brings us to the end of our lesson. Thank you all for your engagement and participation. We've covered a lot of ground today, reinforcing the key concepts and strategies that are essential for your understanding and success. Remember, the main takeaways are the importance of applying what you've learned, staying curious, and continuously seeking growth. This lesson was designed to support your ongoing development, so I encourage you to revisit these ideas and keep practicing. Once again, thank you for being such attentive and enthusiastic learners. This is the end of our session, but I hope the knowledge you've gained today will serve you well moving forward.